Hello and welcome to the CNY Voice. Tonight is Memorial Day, Monday, May 25th, 2020, and we are gearing up for a wonderful opening of New York State. We hope that you guys enjoyed your Memorial Day. I want to take just a moment to think about what this day truly represents. I'd like to thank the patriots that we have fighting for our freedoms today, but this day is not about veterans, and it's about those who lost their lives and paid the ultimate price for our freedom. So I just want to pay my respects and ask that you guys please remember what this day is truly about. And in these trying times, it's really important to remember those things. Tonight's episode, and if you look over here on the screen, I am joined by the lovely Doreen Barker, who has been doing so many things, wonderful things for our region. And if you look in the background in the beautiful sky, she's out there with the cows right now, and I think that it's just truly awesome. You can unmute yourself, Doreen. I want to give you guys a little bit of a background on her real quick. Doreen Barker is a native of the Southern Tier region, is an active woman within the farming community of upstate New York. She holds several job titles, including, but not limited to, farm manager of Barrows Farm, founder and marketing manager at Southern Tier Farm Fresh, freelance writer and photographer for several agriculture publications, and the founder of Upstate New York Farm Girls. 12 years ago, Doreen started a farm for concerns due to a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. She found her passion for quality food production, farmland preservation, and how to encourage other small farms. Doreen utilizes her background of nearly 30 years in marketing to assist multiple small farms and value-added products to be promoted across New York and other states as well. She has traveled working as a farm fixer and hands-on assistance in states like Virginia, Tennessee, and Florida. And even though she's always working, her passion fuels her to be constantly involved within the world of agriculture. As the farm manager of Barrows Farms, to date, Doreen has developed a farm focusing on soil to provide quality goods within the region. Her attention to detail on everything from genetics to life cycle and ecological benefits have proven unique and effective within her local environment. As the founder of Southern Tier Farm Fresh, Doreen uses her skills accumulated over her lifetime, such as farm marketing, product research, development, and advertising, and then follow-up promotion. That's a lot.
It is. It really is. I stay busy.
You sure do. And we thank you so much for everything that you do. One of the things that I want to get right into, talk to me about Southern Tier Farm Fresh. How did this get started?
So over the years, as I've done like a lot of the marketing or promotion and worked with other farms, one of the things that's actually happened is I started having more and more people come to me and say, hey, where can I go to get beef? Or where can I go to get pork? Or where can I get produce? You have to have one of those girls that you work with that she actually produces that. So over the years, what actually happened is the development just got so big, I really needed to formalize it into something that was a little bit more cohesive. Because of the COVID, we actually had an explosion of people. I do believe that 1 week I had 89 phone calls in 1 week for people looking for food goods.
Mm-hmm.
They just couldn't get them. And of course, now with everything that's going on with the meat market and the way the processors can't get to them for big commercial ag, now we're into this whole flux where all the farms are all busy all the time. So by utilizing my network skills and my marketing background, we're able to take things like honey, maple syrup, cheeses, butters, meats, still doing the beef and the pork and all of that, and being able to get it from the farm to the consumer. That's the optimal goal, is that in a cohesive way that makes sense. So we go on, we build a cart, we pay for it, just like you do with any other website.
That's so amazing. And you know that I reached out to you a month or so ago when I caught wind from some of the farming groups that we are in mutually. And when you started the Southern Tier Farm Fresh, it was something that I had already been thinking about and wanting to expand, you know, help you grow or duplicate
Right.
the same process here. Because in the beginning of this COVID timeline, what we were finding was that we were getting limited really quickly on our goods, milk and so on and so forth. And then knowing the issues with the dairy farmers having to dump all of the milk and the free milk giveaways that they were giving instead of dumping their milk. I know you have some information for me for that as well that we discussed. Before we get into the milk situation though, honestly, it's so needed with our dependency, and we don't have to be dependent. We didn't need to ship our meat to China to package it and have it come back here butchered and shipped. We didn't need to do that. But is it true that it's really the state regulations that make it so hard for farmers to be able to do that for themselves?
Well, it's state and federal. That's the problem, is it's multiple levels. Like here in New York State, say like I wanted to, let's say I sat back, I have dairy cows right here.
Right.
And let's decided I wanted to take one into the barn and I wanted to milk it and I wanted to be able to sell raw milk. I can't unless I'm licensed by the state. I have to be inspected. I have to send in daily milk samples. I have to keep daily milk samples. I have to keep records. I have to have a bottling plant, and they still want it pasteurized. That's the ultimate thing that they keep pushing for, is that pasteurization level,
Right.
which is, it can be done, and it can be done on a small scale for small farms, but you're looking at a system that's going to cost you between $30,000 and $60,000 to set it up. It's not cheap.
Right.
So, you know, when you look at somebody who milks 4 cows or milks 6 cows, it's not justifiable. It's just not. And then you have all the paperwork, all the overhead, and some of that paperwork takes a year before you can actually start to do anything. So yeah, there's a lot of, let's just look at dairy in particular. That is one level that is so government controlled. You know, we go to sell milk into the market. Now we're under federal milk orders. Now we don't have to just answer to the state. We also have to answer to the USDA. We have to have inspections done by USDA inspectors. Where, you know, and then you have all these milk producers, or poolers, I should say, that they want the milk. They don't want to pay what they should pay, which is cost of production. They play this game with pricing, and that doesn't help anybody.
Now let me read this to you, and I want your feedback on this. And this was posted, and it says, well, that wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. Farmers are now paying for all the milk they forced us to dump. So basically, we cut our production by 43% since 2018, while others added hundreds of cows on, and now we are being charged to dump the other farmers' milk because they flooded the market. No, I don't feel our farm should have to pay. We reduced by 43%. We literally can't pay crap with this milk check. Meanwhile, all the non-essential people are getting an extra $600 a freaking week. That's more than my milk check for the month. Let that sink in. The people that feed you, busting their butts, hasn't stopped for them, and we just keep getting crapped on. We are so done. The cows are going. Good luck to all the non-farmers out there to feed yourselves. So
that was actually written by a neighbor farm, so you're aware.
Okay.
She's lived one road over.
So can you explain to me what is that all about? Like, what is the thing with having to reduce your...
Well, what they did is they come through when the schools shut down and everything started shutting down for COVID. What they did is they went to all the farmers and told them that they needed to reduce the amount of milk that they are actually sending into the market. So a lot of farms actually cut back. They cut back on production. and they can cut back on production through feeding programs, which is not a bad thing. It's not a great thing, but it's not a bad thing, because again, you have a cow, she has an input cost and she has an income cost. Ultimately, it runs just like a business. As much as we love this, having the cows and doing what we do, it's still a business. And
Right.
when you're getting paid, I shared another post today, I think it was, that they were talking that the price of milk was $12.44 a hundred.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's trucking fees that are deducted. There's a pickup fee that's deducted. There's all of these deductions that go in on top of it. These farms are not, I think Cornell released a study like 3 years ago that said the input cost was right around $9 to $11 a cow.
Wow.
And if a cow produces 80 pounds, 90 pounds, 100 pounds of milk a day, what's that input cost? If she produces 100 pounds a day, that's how they get paid. So if they have $11 going into it and they're only getting $12.44, and then they still have all of these additional expenses in on top of it,
Mm-hmm.
they're going backwards. That's poor business economics. And farming is the only industry I ever see this in.
Right.
That's what doesn't make any sense to me at all.
So what, as you as a dairy farmer, what are you doing right now?
I'm not actually a dairy farmer.
You're
I'm not.
You
Nope.
do- Okay.
I know a lot of dairy farmers. Right now, a lot of them are using their savings, what little bit they have, and if they don't, they're selling cows, which they're not getting any money for their cows right now because, again, the market's flooded. They were told to cut back, so they've been cutting back. This is a dead-end, no-win situation for any dairy farmer out there right now.
Okay.
No.
Awful. And is it the similar situation for, I'm sorry, I have a helicopter flying over my,
You're fine.
I live right by the airport, so I often get funny noises while I'm trying to record. Is it the same thing for the slaughtering, cutting, and processing of meats? Is that a dead-end tough situation for farmers as well?
Well, and what's actually happening right now is small producers like myself, because that's primarily what I do, is I supply meats.
Mm-hmm.
So I do beef, I do pork, sometimes chicken, turkeys. It doesn't really impact me, other than when I try to get a butcher appointment now, the slaughterhouses are actually, the small slaughterhouses, some of them are actually booked into 2022.
Wow.
Two.
Well, I'm glad to hear that there's local slaughterhouses that are able to get the job done.
But they're not.
They're not.
There's not enough. That's the problem.
What would it take for someone to become a butcher or to do this?
And again, here's where you go back into the state and the federal, and you got to have
Right.
all the sections. And this is what I don't understand. So in New York State, it is set that if we have a custom slaughter done, these custom houses still have to have inspections done. They still have to have state health inspections done. They still have to have their refrigerators and their coolers checked.
Mm-hmm.
But we as farmers can't use them to resell cuts of meat. So as soon as we want to walk into a farmer's market with, say, a T-bone steak or a package of hamburger, it has to be USDA certified. So when you get out of that bulk realm, a quarter cow, half cow, full cow, works the same with pork, works the same, not necessarily the same with chickens, but beef and pork a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get out of those quarters, halves, or wholes, and you start breaking it down into, well, I want 10 pounds of burger, now all of a sudden we have to be USDA certified. And there's, I think in our area, I think there's only like 3 USDA slaughter facilities.
Wow.
3. And they're extremely difficult to get into. The cost is way more expensive, of course, because, they have to have, the whole process is when they go through the slaughter, they have to have a USDA inspector there. The USDA inspector takes samples of organ meats and they send it out for testing for things like tuberculosis, salmonella, E. coli, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
It can still be done on a small scale butcher, through the state, and I don't understand what this holdup is on why we're not allowed to do this.
Right.
Like a self-serve, self-establishment. The butcher does it. He takes a sample. He sends it out. I mean, it would go to the same facility.
Right.
I just don't understand. I don't understand why we have to have a USDA slaughter guy scheduled for that day of the week for all day. And it's expensive. It's not like they come in and it's like, oh yeah, it's $100 a day.
Right.
Nope. It's by the hour, and it's like $100 an hour plus.
It's hard, isn't it, in New York State to farm?
Very. Actually, New York State is the second worst ag state in the whole continental United States, and then we're only followed by California.
That's like for everything. California,
Yep.
then New York just falls in line. And I don't mean farming. I mean on every aspect of infringing on our rights and getting us fed and eating. And one thing New York or California is ahead of New York is the Prop 65 stuff. But meanwhile, aren't a lot of our farms like Cargill, aren't they all still spraying Roundup and Monsanto on a lot of the crops?
Cargill is a processor.
Right.
They buy stuff from farms, and it's not necessarily what gets sprayed onto the crops. Yes, some of it, like heavy use of Roundup.
Right.
A farmer is never going to want to do that because Roundup is all salts, and they're not going to want to go in and use it because as soon as they do, the ground becomes too salty and it won't grow anything. Then it's barren ground. Okay. So a lot of farms run a very fine line between what is healthy for the environment and what is healthy for the crop.
Well, also I've meant essentially the crops, because a lot of the farms aren't feeding the cows grass any longer. They're feeding them corn that's been essentially sprayed, and then therefore it carries into the cow and into the human. So that's something that is a concern of mine, and that's why I was looking for any local farmers. I'd rather drop $400 to $600 and fill my freezer and just never have to go to the market when I can have fresh, good meat and put that money in a local farmer's pocket before I'm going to spend it at the grocery store. And I know local farms are in the grocery store, but buying direct is certainly beneficial.
You do realize that it's only like 1%, maybe 2% of New York State farms that are actually in grocery stores.
I know, and it's disgusting. When I will not buy meat from Walmart. I will not buy produce from Walmart. The only places that I do is Wegmans.
Well, and then you have to still worry, where's the country of origin on it? I mean, are they putting it right on there that it's grass-fed beef from New York State?
Right. No, because most of the time it's lying on the packaging and it's probably made in China.
Well, Mexico or Brazil, a lot of it comes from Brazil.
Yeah.
So, that's another concern that I think economically, I think we really all need to sit back and take a look at, because one, if you buy from a local farmer, the dollar stays here. There's no middleman. There's no, yes, you have the farmer, you have the butcher, you have the consumer. That's that line. And that means that we get to retain, instead of getting paid $1 a pound for our meat to put it in on a supermarket shelf, we can actually get a fair market price for it. We still have input costs. And I put out a post the other day. If we didn't have ag exemption here on this farm, our taxes are $27.50 a day.
Holy crap.
A day. And I mean, we're an average size farm here in New York. So we're at 150 acres. So, you sit back and you look at that with no ag exemption, we're 10 grand a year. How many beef cows do I have to sell to pay for that?
Right.
That's one input cost. That's not insurance. That's not feed programs. That's not water tubs. That's not anything. That's nothing. It's just tax at $27.50 a day. So I have to look at my land and I have to say, what's going to be the best way for me to make $27.50 a day just to pay my taxes?
Right.
And I mean, I can tell you, I work 365 days a year. It's coming up to hay season. I'm going to be putting in 18, 20-hour days. And there's going to be no stop until hay is done. It might be 4 days. It might be 14 days. I don't know. So, you know, then you have that aspect of it. That here's these farms. Okay, an average size farm, dairy farm, a smaller one, is like 76 cows. They milk 76 cows. Let's say they have 8 milkers.
Mhm.
Takes them 8 hours a day to just milk their cows. 8 hours a day. And they're going backwards because they're still not getting paid right. So that means they're not getting a paycheck. This is the frustrating part, is we all work all day, every day, and we love what we do, and we're trying to put the best product we can out there, but we don't get paid. We don't get paid.
Yeah.
Most of us work in a secondary job.
And then with Cuomo, I know over the last couple years, he's made some pretty brazy things happen with you guys having to pay your migrant farmers minimum wage. But was one of the things that was disincluded in having to do that was like room and board, the food that they're supplied. All of those things were not even taken into consideration for farmers who are paying their workers.
And I think if you actually look into that, the farm minimum wage is now like $11 an hour.
Right.
And you still have to supply, especially with migrants, they still have to pay them room, board. They still have to give them a place to sleep. They're still all
Pretty good job.
But you know, we need that for ourselves, and we're not even making $11 an hour.
Right.
And especially small farms. And even if we do calculate in $11 an hour, now you're looking at a fair market price. Let's say you go in and you figure it out on a standard Angus cow for beef. You start looking at it, that's $10 a pound hamburger. Who is going to buy that?
Right.
And this is the problem. We don't have fair market pricing for anything to do with agriculture. Nothing. It doesn't matter what you buy. It's not there. It can be lettuce. It's not there. Because there's still all of those deductions. And you sit and think with dairy farmers, they're not only still liable for all of that land tax, which it takes them more acres to actually be able to feed their cows because of the intense food system that they're put into.
Right.
You know, now you're looking at, they have to have hundreds of acres of corn to be able to facilitate high-end production, because if they don't have high-end production, they can't pay their bills. And now it's a role reversal from the way it was. Like, my grandparents were dairy farmers. And one of the things that I actually noticed with them is, like, toward the end of their dairy cycle, like they weren't getting the payments anymore for butter, fat, protein, or quality. You started seeing premium payments for quantity.
Okay.
And this is what's happening right now on a bigger scale. The more they produce, the bigger bonus they get. Mm-hmm. The smaller they are, they actually get, if they don't meet a minimum quota, they get hit for it. They get a deduction for it.
Right. And the big farms is kind of where I was going along the lines, where they have to have the corn, and the corn is not the best for the cows because they're not really grass-fed cows. And that goes in the quality. And so one of the things that we have as a benefit, sucky for the farmers, but a benefit to the consumer, is that many of our cows are grass-fed here in New York. You see them grazing all the time.
Not as many as I think.
Not as many as I think. Well, what I was going to say is that I know that they're always upping, and it's for the reason for mass production. But isn't that where antibiotics and all of the other issues come into play as well? Because they're trying to plump them up fatter, faster, making the life go by quicker.
Well, yes and no. RBST for milk was a very big thing.
Right.
A lot of places have actually stopped taking any milk that was RBST milk. So, you know, when you go into the store and you actually look, RBST is a growth hormone for anybody that doesn't know that. You will see that most of the milk that's actually produced in New York actually has a label that says RBST free.
Yeah, I always have bought Burn Dairy milk of that reason, besides getting it from a local farmer or an organic milk. Other than that, I always just get our milk from Burn Dairy.
Yeah, and now Burn Dairy's not even Burn Dairy anymore. It's actually Upstate.
Oh, really?
It's actually Upstate Milk. They sold out within the last year.
To the hospital?
No, Upstate
Oh,
Milk.
okay, just Upstate Milk.
Yep. It's
Wow.
it's a cooperative, just like it's just like Burn Dairy, just different.
Right.
They're a much larger group and organization.
Yeah, I've definitely seen Upstate Milk. Isn't that the milk that's at the fairgrounds?
Yep. Usually,
Yeah.
it's usually a lot of schools actually serve it too.
Right. Okay. And so Congress Bill HR 2859, the Prime Act. Is that going to help farmers or going to hurt farmers?
Ultimately, I think it's going to help them.
You do. Good.
If we can get it, if they can get it passed, I think it is going to help. Because what that Prime Act is going to do is it's going to eliminate the need, that very specific need that USDA facilitator has to be there. So it's going to open it up so a lot more smaller processors can actually get a handwritten certification. Sure, we weren't there, but yes, you sent the stuff in, kind of slaughter process.
Right.
There's a couple of things that I do have a little bit of concern on, but it's not, I think the general gist of it is way more along the lines of what we needed to do anyway. I mean, I think it was 3-4 years ago, they actually tried to get this pushed in New York State, where we would actually, New York State farms would be able to utilize New York State butchers. And as long as we didn't sell it outside of the state, we were going to be able to do that. It just all died and went away and it disappeared. And now we're sitting here going, what do we do? So, I know I called a couple of butcher shops last week, and even our local ones are 6 to 8 months out.
Wow.
Under normal circumstances. Now they're booking into January and February of 2021, if not further out. I know some of them. I did see one of the girls on the ag group the other day. She was in Western New York, and she said that her butcher is 2022.
And there's only like 3 of them that we can utilize, you said, in New York.
Well, there's 3 of them. There's like 3 of them in my area.
Okay, in the southern tier.
Is in the southern tier region, yes. And then even those all right. So the one is a 45-minute drive.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is an hour and 15-minute drive, and the other one is approximately an hour drive. So there's none in my backyard. We're transporting hours to send things to USDA. So
essentially, for federal meat is what this bill says. And for those of you who don't know and are listening, essentially it's to amend the Federal Meat Inspection Act to exempt from inspection of the slaughter of animals and the preparation of carcasses conducted at a custom slaughter facility and for other purposes. And so I don't have the education of farming or haven't lived it my whole life like you do, but it's a passion and something I definitely really care about, and starting my own organic garden this year. And people really need to learn how to be self-sustainable with their food, and everybody who can do something would definitely benefit them in the long run. Especially a lot of people were freaking out about food shortages, but because I have a little bit of inside knowledge, I didn't really panic, because I looked at it as a good thing, because we're going to stop outsourcing our meat to China and getting it shipped back here. So I thought, well, that's a great thing, because that shouldn't be happening anyways. We need to do that here in our own country. Like it's foolish to do that. And so
I think one of our biggest concerns isn't so much them shipping it out. It's that one of our largest pork companies in the United States is Smithfield.
Right.
Back in 2013, China bought Smithfield.
Right.
All of those packages that you see on grocery store shelves that say Smithfield which is a pretty popular brand.
It's cheapest brand.
All of their profit goes to China. It's owned by China. JBS, which JBS is, they do a lot of processing for beef. They're actually owned by Brazil. So you're aware. Brazil. And then they take our stuff and they ship it overseas. And then a few years ago, they actually brought in meat trimmings into the Philadelphia port, actually. And those meat trimmings were actually made into burger. And that burger was actually contaminated.
Wow.
Millions of pounds of beef trimmings were contaminated. So we have some no one has the safety like the United States does for food goods. And I understand that what a lot of us farmers are actually asking for is a little bit of leniency in that food safety. But on the flip side, you can't tell me that a local small butcher is going to want to run the risk of getting his pants sewed off because he had poor kept equipment.
Right.
You know, no farmer is going to want to go deal with somebody who has poor kept equipment. We know as soon as we pull in on what it looks like. We know. I just, something needs to give here for all of us farms. It's not just dairy. It's not just beef. It's not just pork. It's all of us across the board.
Right. So let's talk about upstate or Southern Tier Farm Fresh. So a little bit before we have to run out of time, I thank you so much for, joining me and sitting with me at the sunrise. The cows look like they went home.
No, they're actually, they just moved.
Moved. They moved.
They moved.
Well, I really think, what you're doing is super for the people in your community and near you and for the farmers. And I know that it's taken a lot of work and you're starting to build that process up. And how is that working out? How is the ordering online going? How is delivery? Are you doing that yet? Or where are you at with the Southern Tier Farm Fresh, guys? You can look it up on Facebook.
So I think I've done 4 weeks worth of deliveries. We've actually had more for drop locations and pickups than we have for deliveries, which is good because it actually saves. Right now it's 2 farmers and actually a veteran out of Norwich who actually volunteered services.
Wow, wonderful.
So yeah, we've been pretty fortunate. I mean, I don't think we've had anything that's actually gone through the Norwich one yet, but that's pretty new still.
Right.
And sit and think. I mean, we're basically 6 weeks into this. 6 weeks.
Right.
And, and it's a lot of legwork. And the problem that I'm seeing right now is very specifically meat products. They're selling so fast we can't get them. And that's straight through the farms, which is great. It's a conflict for me because it's like I want to list them, but then it's just not there. But there's some stuff that goes on behind the scenes that, somebody will send me a message and I'll be in the process of working with a farm to figure out what the pricing's supposed to be. And I go, hey, I just had somebody get hold of me and they're looking for 50 pounds burger. Oh, okay. Yep. Let's do this. And then, we try to get them a fair market price for that.
Right.
It's been a process. It's been a big process. It's actually a year ahead of what I wanted to do it.
Well, I'm proud of you for doing it in the way that you have, because I would love nothing more than to duplicate this process, because there are a lot of farms in the central New York region as well, throughout the Finger Lakes and here in Onondaga County, rural Cayuga County. There is just a lot of farms that could use the boost. And the consumer would prefer. You know, we'd rather get our eggs and our milk and our meat cuts from a local farm. And
Well,
so I really want to have that something in place so that we're able to do that. And not that I'm trying to put Walmart out of business.
yes, we
But
are.
yeah, I am. But essentially, that's not where we should be shopping. And again, it's just the same, guys, as buying Smithfield. We know that it's cheap and we know that it's there, but think about the byproducts and who knows what you're getting in it if it's coming from China. Honestly, think about where your meat is coming from.
It's not coming from China. It's coming from here.
Okay.
They're still buying through U.S. farms. The problem is they're not paying U.S. farms.
Right.
It's pennies on the dollar. So you see, you know, you go in and you see bacon in the store for sale for, let's say, $8 a pound.
Right.
A farmer somewhere down the line has been paid between 50 and 75 cents a pound for that. If that. This is not, it's not farmers that are getting the money. It's the business that are getting the money. And this is,
to be honest, this is why a lot of farmers are committing suicide, is because they work long days, they go through all of this, and for what? For
nothing.
what? When they're going to lose their farm, they're going to lose their animals, they're going to, you know, my heart just goes out to.
Well, and it's not what
people
need to understand is we're looking at the farm I'm on right now is a 6th generation farm that literally goes, you know, I can say 6 generations and you go, oh yeah, it goes back to blah, 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 blah. I got everybody a little bit of homework. This farm actually goes all the way back to the Boston Purchase.
Wow.
You know, yes, this was some of the original land that was settled under the Boston Purchase to this family. That's something that you need to sit back and go, this isn't just a piece of property. This is a family legacy. Yeah. And when you have a farmer who loses a family legacy, there is so much, there's just so much that goes with it. These people struggle every day. They're frustrated. They're depressed. I can't tell you how many of them I talk to that literally sit and cry because they don't know what they're going to do. They just don't know. And there's no simple solution. None. Sadly.
I know.
So,
and that's why we need to have these conversations. You know, part of the reason why I'm running an assembly is because I really want to bring the people's voice back to Albany. We haven't had proper representation for so long. And it isn't about the political parties. It's about you, the farmer. It's about you, the small business owner. It's about you, the mom with kids in public school. It's so many issues all of the time. And this is why it's important to have these conversations, because when I get in that office, I want to make sure that I've heard from you, that we've discussed these issues, so that when the dirty, corrupt crap comes my way, then you can be rest assured that there's going to be one voice there that's going to say, hell no, you're not doing this to our farmers anymore, or restoring some of what you guys have lost, because how many businesses or how many farms have to go out of business
before anybody pays attention.
Exactly. And that's what I don't want to have happen. I really want to have the first of many of these conversations. And we know we've talked off the record and now here on the record, which I thank you for sharing the wealth of information that you did. And hopefully it will give our listeners some sense of an idea of what New York State farms are really truly facing and what can we actually do about it. I hope someone will step up to me and say, hey, I can design that website for you.
And this is kind of where the Southern Tier Farm Fresh, that can be expanded throughout all of New York.
Right.
We just create hub zones. So by farmers stepping up to the plate and saying, yes, let's do this, where it becomes easier for the consumer, where they can go, hey, I can go in on this website and I can order milk, cheese, beef, produce, fruits,
and even a wreath.
Yes.
A wreath. A crafter.
Yeah. A flag, a wooden flag. I can, there's all of this stuff that all of these local farms produce, and people just don't know. They don't know. So that was my target goal, is that, I see, you're in the upstate New York Farm Girl group with me. There's what, roughly 400 girls in there? Women, farm women from all across New York State. And you start looking at everything that they do. It's horseback lessons. There's so much. There's just so much.
It is.
And I want to be able to celebrate and embrace that. And it's not just the female aspect of it either. It's all of us. It's all encompassing. It's all of us. We're still your neighbors. We're still your local business people. We're still all of this stuff. And
you're amazing, and you make my heart so full. And I'm so proud to know you and support you so much for everything that you do.
And I'm so glad that we connected. I really am. And it's just like I told you before. The best thing you can do is tell the truth.
That's just it. I've had so many interviews lately, and they've said, well, let's practice. We'll get on beforehand. And I said, I don't need to. You can ask me whatever you want. I don't ever have to remember anything except for what I choose to, because I never tell lies. So it's okay. Just ask me whatever you want. I'm ready.
Well, and it's all out there. It's all verifiable. Anybody can look it up. It's all there.
Yes.
But we need to have these conversations on, well, where do you sell your stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I'm lucky. I came from the background of marketing, so I knew how to sell my stuff.
Right.
I'm sold out. I'm like so sold out. I have people who are like, please get more. I can't, and this is part of where all of this comes from, is it's like, I can't, but I know these other people. Please call them.
Thank you. Thank you for everything that you do. We'll have many more conversations. And hopefully the next time that we bring Doreen on, we'll be talking about how we expanded Southern Tier Farm Fresh to all of Central New York, so we can get in on the goods too, guys. I thank you so much.
I'm gonna have to rename it.
You will. It'll have to be Central New York Farm Fresh.
Or New York Farm Fresh.
There you go, because then you won't limit yourself.
Exactly.
I like it. New York State Farm Fresh. Since they're going to be all in your business anyway.
Right. Why not, right?
Well, thank you guys. This was Doreen Barker. And I thank you so much for joining us. And thank you to the cows. They look like they're coming to say goodbye.
They are.
Moo. Thanks a lot, guys. Tune in to us next week, and we'll have lots of updates for you. Anything you want to say before we end the show?
Buy local.
We will. Thank you, Doreen.
Thank you.